What do you say, everybody? Welcome to Elephant in the Room. We're going to talk Bama and Michigan, the bowl game coming up. Hopefully everyone's had a happy holidays. However you celebrate, we appreciate you guys celebrating Alabama with us here on the channel. So before I bring on Jake Coker, even though you can see him right there, let me play his open, get you all fired up for a big Alabama football talk session here on Elephant in the Room. Roll time. All right, roll tide, man. Got Jake Coker, Mick Gillispie. Jake, right into it. Bama, Michigan. Michigan with a bunch of opt-outs. Bama with Malachi Moore missing because of an injury. Both teams with guys transferring. But we're going to play this game, and that's how the DeBoer era is going to end the first season, with a football game in Tampa.
Yeah, obviously not what we wanted, or the Quest Bowl. I mean, nobody had that pin for this year's, destination with a 12-team playoff. And, you kind of watch all these bowl games right now. North Carolina's playing UConn, and I don't know, man. The bowls outside of the playoff don't seem to have that old allure they used to have. It's fun to watch. Got something to watch at least, but I say that it's a blowout. But I don't know. I like, the more and more I think about our conversation earlier in the week, it would be nice to have more playoff games scattered throughout December, because it's awful quiet right now.
Yeah. Well, there's one answer and one answer only, and that's to just turn this into a big-ass playoff. I mean, because these games are meaningless, but the minute you turn them into a playoff, you still have a chance. It's still going to end up with the best teams playing for the championship. It's going to be a different road to get there. And if they ever did a big championship, they're probably going to have to get rid of the conference championship games. I know the conferences don't want that. But if you did what was best for the game, you would just have a big-ass playoff and incorporate the bowls.
Yeah. Or, like a interconference playoff to decide a champion, top four in the standings, play each other. Champion of that, it just funnels down to where then all conference champions play each other.
Right.
That might be the best way to do it, but you do kind of want to see those out of conference games that you rarely see. The Tennessee States. Oregon's got Ohio State this week. Just I don't know. They need to find a way to make it to where these blue bloods and historic matchups happen again very often.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I know Tennessee got their butts whooped by Ohio State, but that was an interesting matchup to think that you're talking about two really big programs and they never play, and they're not that far apart. So I think that's one of the cool things about the bowls. It's in a playoff, it brings teams together that wouldn't normally match up.
Yeah. No, I think that's the key right there. We missed out on one hell of a historical matchup with Alabama Notre Dame if that had happened.
Shame.
That was game of the century written all over it. All kinds of hype. You don't even have to market that thing. It is going to be just, Shane Gillis. He pretty much described it just right. It just seems like they have a chance this year. Yeah. He's not saying that with Alabama Jones lined up on the other sideline.
Alabama Jones.
I want to see Shane. There's got to be a camera, and I want to see Shane Gillis go stay at Coach Saban's Verbo.
Oh, it'd be so funny. Can you believe kind of how Saban's like? I think he's done a pretty good job, like adjusting to this role as a guy on TV. Because at first, the dude seemed so like stiff, but he's gotten better. He handled that exactly the way that you would want it handled. You know what I mean? Like, good for him.
Yeah. Well, he's trying to figure out he's obviously, when he started, he's trying to be all clean and not cuss too much, and now he's just like, screw it, I'm basically having a mild locker room conversation up here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. Well, people appreciate this about you. It's one of the big compliments that a lot of people that watch our show talk about is that you're genuine, man. I mean, the way that we talk on here is the way that you talk outside of this show, you know. And I think Saban's kind of figuring that out too, man. People just can tell. They can tell who you are, and if you try to fake, you really lose your audience.
Yeah, yeah. If you try to do too much, if you try to clean it up too much and not be yourself, man, it just I mean, you can tell it doesn't feel good doing it. You know, it's not
Yeah,
fun.
right. Well, yeah. If you know, he's probably had a lot of people coaching him on how to do all of this stuff and everything else, and then you got to figure out what works for you, and
Yeah.
it kind of feels like he's hit that a little bit, like what works for him on the shows, and how to connect with an audience, how to work with Pat McAfee. But could you imagine that Pat McAfee and Coach Saban like 3 years ago would be the stars of game day?
Oh, I know. It's changed. The landscape of college football media has completely changed. ESPN hit the lottery with those two, and to get Coach Saban on there, I mean, that game day's got to be about, that's got to be one of the only shows at ESPN that really everybody still loves to tune into due to the tradition, and it seems like it's still got that old ESPN feel.
Yeah, right. The one that we all grew up loving to watch,
Yeah, yeah, that's right. I mean, I wish Lee Corso was still in his prime with those two on that show.
I know. That's the tough part about getting old, man. Is, hey, you fall out quick when it comes to like being on TV and being quick and witty and all of those things. And Lee Corso was. I remember when Lee Corso was like the guy, come on there and just talk smack and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's nobody. I don't know. Nobody's ever done it better than him, in my opinion. On a pregame talk show, I mean, just make it fun, talk football. I mean, I don't know how much he was really watching film on all these teams over the years, but it didn't matter. It was just fun to watch. The interactions with the crowd. I mean, I'll never forget that time they were in. I think they were in Houston. And he's trying to put the mask on, and he can't get it on or something. And he goes, fuck it, and throws the mask. Yeah, Reese Davis and Kirk Herbstreit are just dying laughing.
Yeah, well, at what point do you right? Hey, guys, let me remind you that we're brought to you by mybookie.ag, and we've got the deal of the year for you right now. And take advantage of this 300% deposit bonus for the casino and 50 free spins using the promo code next round, or 50% sign up bonus for the sports book. That's right. Mybookie.ag promo code next round to take advantage of that. And they bring you the show each week. And like and subscribe, thumbs up as you hang out. Get in the comment section too. We love to hear from you guys. With Jay Coker, I'm Mick Gillispie. All right, Jake, let's talk a little football here. Bama has been decimated, transfer portal, by wide receivers, right? And you're talking about a lot of guys transferring out, 4 of those, the bunch of injuries, and they're really thin in that wide receiver spot. That's the bad news. Good news is that Jalen Hale is practicing with Alabama right now. And it's the first time he's been able to practice since he had that really bad knee injury.
They're not saying he's going to play though, right?
No, he's not. Just no contact jersey, has a brace. Of course, it was his left knee. And, he's not going to play in that game. But you talk about Kendrick Law, Kobe Prentice, Emmanuel Henderson, and Caleb Odom all transferring out. And you're going, okay, what are we going to do to replace them, right? And having Hale back could be a big addition for Alabama. And maybe not this year, but next year.
Yeah, it was already a receiving core that, I don't see this as a shot. I mean, historically, you look at Alabama's receiving core over the past 10 years, it's been unreal. This is the first time we've really not had all that superstar power outside. I mean, Ryan Williams, obviously, but he's 17 years old. We don't have a core that's really established that, makes all the plays when we need them. I mean, we got some playmakers, but we just never seem to find that. We're never in sync the entire year. I felt like we just never found our groove. And it probably has a lot to do with those guys leaving, but I loved Hale. I thought he was a great player, really coming along. So hopefully that, he gets through that knee injury. We got a guy coming from Miami, 6'4".
Horton. Yeah, Horton.
I can't remember if he's playing Z or X, but he's an outside guy, big body. I mean, I really I can't wait to see what that guy looks like. Obviously had some good experience with Cam Ward down at Miami, made a lot of plays, and going to be fun to watch him in the crimson and white. And then, Jeremy Bernard, he's got one more year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we ought to look pretty solid, I would think, next year. At least our, top 4 guys. But, some young guys will get to play in this bowl game. We'll see what we got. At the same time, we've mentioned this over and over again. It's, it's tough to play with, DeBoer's type of offense. Now, obviously Jalen Milroe, Jam Miller will be running a lot. But when you got a bunch of inexperienced guys getting tossed in the fire just for one game, it's pretty tough at receiver. The timing, I've said it a million times, timing, angles, all that, you can't expect a whole lot of crisp route running and communication between receiver and quarterback when you've never really played together.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's why it takes time, but it's almost becoming.
With all those guys leaving, I don't even know really who. I mean, I guess, there's going to be a lot of 2 tight end looks, I guess. And, you got Ryan Williams. I mean, who else do we have that's going to play behind those guys that have left?
Yeah, right. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, Jaylen Mbakwe. I mean, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I did hear he was running routes. That's going to be pretty cool, those two, on the field together playing receiver.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I mean, like I totally get it if you're Mbakwe. He came in as a star athlete, right? Like everything he can do everything on the football field. Giving him the opportunity to do that is something that I don't think Saban would have done, but I guarantee you that Caleb DeBoer's made for that.
Yeah. Well, Coach Saban, I don't know if he would have done it in his era this year. I mean, with losing the guys we've lost, you never know what he might do. Hey man, Coach Saban, people tend to look at him like he's, this traditional my way kind of guy, but if it's productive and it's going to get the job done, he'll change overnight. I mean, he's got his ways and his philosophies that I don't think will ever change, the process and all that. But if there's something schematically that needs to be done in order to be successful, he's going to do it. I mean,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Look, he wants to win. I mean, he's not a dinosaur or anything.
Yeah, I don't think anybody I don't think anybody thought that he was going to hire Lane Kiffin, when he did and bring him in and really change the whole offensive philosophy at Alabama. I mean, he kept the same language, but just the the dynamics of the offense changed a lot.
Right. Yeah. What's it like when you were there? I guess Lane was there. Did you guys come in at the same time, or did Lane come in a year before you?
We came in at the same time.
So when you say the language, and I've heard this too with Bill O'Brien and the other guys, what does that mean?
I mean, so everybody does the same stuff, I mean, there's some tweaks and changes, but, zone, counter, power, I mean, at Florida State, we called a certain protection 92. At Alabama, that same protection was Jill.
Right.
So, I mean, when you when Coach Saban had new coaches come in, the language didn't change. He didn't, new coach didn't come in and start calling the same protection something else.
Right.
Uh, So, at Alabama, pretty much, I mean, everything, direction, run scheme, block scheme, the way it was called was all words. At Florida State, it was all a numbering system.
Yeah.
So basically, if Jimbo had come in and been Coach Saban's offensive coordinator again, he'd had to change his language over to what Coach Saban called it. I think it was because all the personnel changes that he had over the time he was, during the time he was at Alabama. I think he had to keep some continuity. Guys couldn't be learning, a new language every year.
Right. And I mean, look, and if you're coming in to play for him, it's his system. I mean, it's not like you're coming in. So this is probably the first year where they've actually changed all of that stuff. Is that what you heard? Did they change all of that stuff?
Well, they had. I mean, I have. That's not a question I've asked, but I know that had to have been the case.
Yeah, right.
Had to have been. I mean, there's just no way. Coach DeBoer's never coached for Coach Saban. I'm sure everything is called differently.
What do you expect in the game? I mean, Alabama's a huge favorite, and Michigan's had a lot of opt-outs. But then when you look at statistically, Bama dominates them in every category. But they did beat Ohio State, and I mean, that's you think about this, like them beating Ohio State is a huge upset because of the rivalry, because of what that game means, because it's not a good Michigan team, like that was only their 7th win. But they did it, so you have to respect that.
Yeah,
like Auburn
I mean, look. I mean, at the end of the day, and I mentioned this earlier in the week. Very rarely do you get to suit up and play Michigan if you're an SEC team, and so, to me, that always meant it was always really cool to play a game with two historical powers.
Yeah.
And I said it earlier this week. The Orange Bowl, my sophomore year at Florida State, we played Northern Illinois, and I mean that was the Orange Bowl down in Miami. Don't get me wrong, it was pretty cool. I mean, you get to play in the Orange Bowl, or I mean that's a pretty awesome experience. But when we played Notre Dame in the Champ Sports Bowl in Tampa, I mean Florida State, Notre Dame, absolutely packed out crowd. I mean, all the theatrics, just deafening. The first time that stadium had ever been sold out for the for the Champ Sports Bowl. It was crazy. It was awesome, and so while we beat Northern Illinois, it was a lot to a little. We got to play Notre Dame in that Champ Sports Bowl, and it was a tight game. We ended up winning at the end, but it was pretty cool in comparison playing Notre Dame rather than NIU. And I don't want to put NIU down. I think that's pretty obvious. I mean, when you're in college, especially when you go to Florida State or Alabama, LSU, wherever, I mean, you go to college to play in those big games against historical opponents. I mean, where there's a lot of hype around it, a lot of energy, and just a different type of atmosphere.
Bowl practice. Bama's practicing, and you get viewing periods. I guess the big news, and we mentioned it before, is that Jaylen Mbakwe is working with the wide receivers ahead of the game. Jeremy Bernard, Ryan Williams, and Rico Scott are the 3 wide receivers, and then Jaron Hamilton and Jaylen Mbakwe, I guess, are backups. And then we mentioned that Hale's kind of, in there practicing. But it's so funny to me that, that Mbakwe, like this fast, is like, hey, you want to do this? Here you go. You stick around here. But the timing couldn't have been any better for him, to be able to play some wide receiver. because Bama needs help there.
Yeah. I'm sure he'll know about a handful of formations and a handful of routes, and he'll get thrown in there probably, where they feel really comfortable with him. And I mean, obviously he's a punt returner, great athlete, DB. Always been like a Swiss Army knife in high school, so he's used to moving around and he's got instincts to play different positions. But it'll be very, very interesting to see what kind of scenario they put him in. If they really like him, is he in there on 3rd and 8, 3rd and 6, on key downs and feeding him the ball. But again, Jaylen Mbakwe and Ryan Williams, that's a tough combo to defend.
Oh, yeah. Have you enjoyed the bowl games? Yesterday was like the first real big slate. Navy beat Oklahoma, which is I still can't believe Bama lost to Oklahoma, but Navy beat them 21-20. So Navy ended up, they beat Army and then they go and beat Oklahoma. Great season for them. Vanderbilt and Georgia Tech put on a really good game. Vanderbilt won that one. Arkansas, Texas Tech was good. Arkansas won that. Texas A&M lost to USC in the Las Vegas Bowl. But games going on today as well. But have you enjoyed the bowls, or do you even pay attention to them?
Man, I haven't seen too many honestly this year. The Christmas and 2 kids with Christmas has been a lot, so I hadn't been focused too locked in on the bowl games. I caught a little, just a few plays here and there, but I wish I had been paying attention. I wish I had known or prepared for the games yesterday because, I saw some of that Oklahoma game. Oklahoma jumped out, right from the jump, and then just kind of like their season, they just blew it off, and ended up, Yeah. But it's just hard, again, it's hard to take them seriously when you don't even think the players are taking them seriously.
That's right.
I just, the amount of opt-outs, you don't even know who's playing. It's hard to keep up with Alabama right now. I'm excited to watch Alabama play because I want to see Mbakwe on offense and see Jalen's last game, which I don't know if he's even confirmed that, but I think we're all pretty safe bet that's his last game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think so. I'd be shocked. I think he's done. Booker, these guys, some of these guys, it's a new wave, man, and to really see the flavor that Kalen DeBoer is going to have with his team, how those guys act. It's a risk, because Saban left such a winning culture, but like what they say, like 30 guys transferred out last year. So, we've already gotten a really good taste of what DeBoer's all about.
Man, if I'm, when I think about it though, if I'm Jalen, I think how much is he making in NIL this year?
Yeah, right. Pretty good. Yeah. Couple mil.
When your room and board's paid for, everything's covered, and you're making that kind of money, you got a pretty safe bet, making a lot of money in college before you jump off, and you never know what's going to happen in the NFL.
Yeah, that's true, man. That is true. All right, buddy. Well, look, I think we got together today and talked about everything going on at Alabama, bowl game against Michigan. Let's get together next week. We got the actual game coming up on Tuesday. But you were going to tell us your New Year's resolutions, I think, before we got off today.
I feel pretty good. I don't know if I've got too much to resolve. Maybe a few less blue moons at the studio.
Oh, get out of here! More blue moons at the studio.
Yeah.
Less iced tea, and more blue moon.
Yeah, I've gained about 10 pounds over since Thanksgiving, so I gotta lose that again. That's my goal. Get back in the high 230s.
Yeah. Well, I'm losing weight here. It's painful. I got to say this, man. I went to in Tampa. I went to my cousin's restaurant, Henderson's. It's like 12 minutes from the stadium, And I got to report to you, man, the burgers, they're amazing. Like, I was so impressed by that place, man. And I went in with, I guess I got chips and queso, fire. And then I got the burger. And it was like, I couldn't believe how good the food was. So if you guys are in Tampa, if you're going to be there, go by Henderson's. Henderson's, it's in, I don't know, it's like 12 minutes from the stadium, somewhere down there. But the really nice little bar, restaurant place. And if Coker, if you're there, I'll buy yours for you.
I'll
pick
you
it
don't
up.
have to worry about it.
You don't like traveling, do you?
No, I'll be alone in the woods.
No, I don't even want to say anything about that. Shame on me. No, I know a lot of our friends and family get out there and hunt. And this is like prime hunting season, but it's like 80 today down here. I don't know what the
the
weather.
we had tornadoes. We had tornadoes in Mobile last night.
No, that's what I heard. That's why I took all those trees out behind my house, because we had one.
There was one crossing the Mobile Bay, from what I heard, headed towards your house.
There was a guy that was, I guess, the first day of shrimp season, and he got caught in one of those out in the bay, and his boat sank. You know, which that bay is tough. The weather affects it, but man, I would not want to be anywhere near that water when one of those storms is coming through.
Oh man, no, it gets choppy in that bay, man. It doesn't matter how big your boat is.
It does. It's like shallow. It's because it's shallow, and the way that it just sits, and you get beat up out there. But yeah, no, I'm far away from those storms. So you know, I'm actually trying to wrap this up. I want to go to the pool. So anyway, all right, buddy. Well, good to talk to you. Guys, like, subscribe, thumbs up, and also you can catch us on covercrimson.com. Clint Lamb's over there going through all of the latest with Alabama, the roster moves, the transfer portal, you know, anything that happens with guys declaring for the NFL draft. We got it all for you on Cover Crimson and covercrimson.com. So, Jake, any final thoughts?
Roll Tide.
I love that final thought.